A little boy begged strangers to buy lemonade to save his dying sister, but no one cared. Then Dwayne Johnson pulled up, and what he did next changed everything. Noah's tiny hands trembled as he carefully placed his last pitcher of lemonade on the wooden crate that served as his stand. The sign, written in shaky, uneven letters, read, "Lemonade, 50 cents. Help my sister Lily." He had written it himself, using a marker that had almost run dry. It wasn't perfect, but it didn't have to be. He just needed people to read it. He just needed someone, anyone, to stop. The afternoon sun burned against his skin, but he barely noticed. His worn-out sneakers shuffled against the sidewalk as he stood beside his stand, hopeful eyes scanning the crowd. People walked past him without stopping. Some glanced at his sign before looking away, pretending they didn't see it. Others offered sympathetic smiles but never reached for their wallets. Noah refused to lose hope. He had to sell every last cup. Lily needed him. His 5-year-old sister had been sick for months, and their mother was drowning in medical bills. Noah didn't understand much about hospitals and treatments, but he knew one thing. Lily's medicine cost more money than they had. His mother tried to stay strong, but he had overheard her crying at night when she thought he was asleep. So Noah did the only thing he could think of. He set up a lemonade stand. At first, he believed it would work. He imagined friendly strangers stopping by, smiling as they handed him a few dollars. He pictured himself running home, proudly giving the money to his mother. But reality was far crueler. An hour passed. Then 2. Not a single customer. His stomach growled, but he ignored it. His arms ached from holding the heavy pitcher, but he wouldn't stop. He couldn't. Then, a sleek black car pulled up near the curb. The doors opened, and a tall man in an expensive suit stepped out, adjusting his gold watch as he walked toward Noah's stand. Noah's heart skipped. Finally, a customer. The man smirked as he looked at the stand, then glanced down at Noah, sizing him up. "You selling lemonade, kid?" he asked, his voice carrying a hint of amusement. Noah nodded quickly. "Yes, sir. It's 50 cents a cup." The man reached into his pocket, pulled out some coins, and tossed them onto the wooden crate. They weren't quarters. They were pennies. "That's about what it's worth," the man said with a chuckle before turning away, heading into a nearby cafe without taking a drink. Noah stared at the pennies, his throat tightening. His tiny hands slowly picked them up and dropped them into his near-empty jar. It wasn't enough. Not even close. Before he could recover from the sting of the man's words, a group of teenagers approached. 4 of them, older, louder, the kind of kids that made Noah's stomach twist. One of them leaned on the crate, eyes gleaming with mischief. "Selling this for your sister, huh?" Noah hesitated but nodded. Another boy snickered. 50 cents is too much. What if we just take a cup?" Noah's heart pounded. I need the money," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. One of the boys grabbed the pitcher. Noah gasped. "No! Please!" Before he could stop them, the boy tipped it over, spilling the lemonade onto the hot pavement. The golden liquid seeped into the cracks of the sidewalk, disappearing in seconds. "Oops." The boy smirked, feigning innocence. "Guess nobody's buying today?" Laughter erupted as they walked off, leaving Noah standing in front of his destroyed stand, his dream crushed in an instant. Tears burned his eyes, but he didn't let them fall. He wanted to give up, run home, tell his mom he was done. But then he thought of Lily, her tiny body curled up under hospital blankets, waiting for him. Noah clenched his fists, wiped his face with the back of his hand, and picked up the empty pitcher. He wasn't done. He would start again, no matter how many times the world knocked him down. Noah's hands shook as he set the empty pitcher back on the wooden crate. His lemonade was gone, his stand was a mess, and his heart felt heavier than ever. The laughter of the boys, who had ruined everything, still echoed in his ears. He wanted to scream, to cry, to run home and bury his face in his pillow. But he couldn't. He wouldn't. With a deep breath, he picked up a rag and wiped the sticky lemonade from the crate. He didn't have more to sell, but maybe, just maybe, someone would still stop and ask why he was here. Maybe they'd help. The street remained busy, cars passing by, people walking in and out of stores, but no one paid attention to the small boy standing alone. Then, something happened. A deep rumble filled the air, low and powerful, making the ground beneath Noah's feet tremble slightly. A massive black truck, sleek and polished, rolled to a stop near the curb. The windows were tinted, the kind of car Noah had only ever seen in movies. Noah watched as the door swung open. A towering man stepped out, wearing a fitted black t-shirt that hugged his broad shoulders. His head was shaved, his sunglasses reflecting the afternoon sun. He exuded a presence so strong that people on the street turned their heads. Noah's heart pounded. It was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He'd seen him on TV, in movies, on posters at the mall. But standing here, right in front of him, that was impossible. Dwayne pulled off his sunglasses, his deep brown eyes scanning the scene. He looked down at the tiny wooden stand, at the empty pitcher, at the crumpled sign that Noah had so carefully written. His gaze finally landed on Noah, who stood frozen, gripping the edge of his crate like it was the only thing keeping him from falling over. The Rock knelt down to his level, resting one arm on his knee. "Hey, buddy," he said, his voice warm but curious. "You selling lemonade?" Noah swallowed hard and nodded. I was," he stammered, "but it's all gone." Dwayne glanced at the sticky pavement, the overturned cup, and something in his expression changed. Like he understood exactly what had happened. He nodded toward the sign. "Lily, that's your sister?" Noah's lip quivered, but he stood straighter. "Yes, sir. She's really sick. My mom says the medicine is really expensive. I just wanted to help." For a second, the Rock didn't say anything. He just looked at Noah, really looked at him, and something in his face softened. He exhaled and shook his head, as if in disbelief. "You're a tough kid," he finally said. "You know that?" Noah bit his lip, nodding slowly. He had to be tough. For Lily. Dwayne reached into his back pocket, pulling out a thick wallet. Without hesitation, he peeled off a $100 bill and placed it on the crate. Then another. And another. Noah's eyes widened as bill after bill stacked up in front of him. His hands flew to his mouth. "Sir, I can't." Dwayne stopped him with a small shake of his head. "You're not selling lemonade, kid. You're fighting for your sister. And that's something I respect." Noah stared at the money, his mind spinning. This was more than he had ever seen in his life. But the Rock wasn't done. He pulled out his phone, opened Instagram, and hit record. "All right, listen up," he said, turning the camera to Noah. "This little guy here, he's got more heart than most grown men I know. He's been out here, busting his butt, trying to raise money for his sick sister." He turned back to Noah, smiling. But guess what? He's not doing it alone anymore. Noah barely had time to process what was happening. In just a few minutes, everything was about to change. Noah stood frozen, his eyes darting between the stack of bills on his lemonade stand and the phone in Dwayne Johnson's hand. His heart pounded so loudly he could barely hear what the Rock was saying, but he knew one thing for sure. Something big was happening. Dwayne held up the phone, recording as he placed a firm hand on Noah's small shoulder. His deep voice carried across the street, commanding attention even from people who had ignored Noah moments ago. "Listen up, everyone," Dwayne said into the camera, his tone serious, yet filled with warmth. "This little guy, Noah, has been out here all day, trying to raise money for his sister, Lily. She's sick, and he's doing whatever it takes to help her. But here's the thing. He shouldn't have to do this alone." Noah's hands gripped the edge of the crate, his breath shallow. Strangers began stopping in their tracks, drawn by the presence of the world-famous actor standing beside a tiny lemonade stand. Dwayne turned the camera back to Noah. "Tell them, champ. Why are you out here?" Noah swallowed hard, his voice barely above a whisper. "My sister. She needs medicine. My mom tries, but we don't have enough money." He looked down, his small fingers tightening into fists. "I just wanted to help her." Dwayne nodded, his jaw clenching for a second before he turned back to the camera. "All right, we're going to change that. Right now." He pulled out his own wallet again, but this time, he didn't just pull out a few bills. He emptied it onto the crate, stacks of crisp $100 bills landing in front of Noah like something out of a dream. Gasps rippled through the small crowd gathering around them. Noah's eyes went wide, his breathing uneven. Dwayne crouched beside him, lowering his voice so only Noah could hear. "This is for your sister, for your family, but we're not stopping here." Before Noah could even process what that meant, the Rock turned back to his phone, speaking directly to his millions of followers. "I want everyone watching this to do me a favor," he said. "Let's show Noah and Lily the power of kindness. I'm going to drop the first donation, and I want you all to follow my lead." With a few taps on his phone, he pulled up a fundraising link, one that would change Noah's life forever. The moment he hit post, everything shifted. The street, which had been mostly empty before, was suddenly buzzing with people checking their phones. Notifications flooded in, beeping and pinging from every direction. Noah barely understood what was happening until Dwayne knelt beside him again, holding up his phone. "Look at this, buddy," he said, turning the screen toward Noah. Noah blinked at the numbers. His little heart nearly stopped. $5,000. Then $10,000. Then $25,000. The numbers kept climbing, faster than Noah could count. The donation link had only been live for minutes, and already the world was pouring its love into helping Lily. Tears stung his eyes. His lips trembled, but he couldn't find the words. Dwayne gave his shoulder a reassuring squeeze. "Told you, kid. You're not alone." By now, the small crowd had turned into something much bigger. Cars stopped in the street. People rolled down their windows, and some even jumped out just to donate in person. A woman rushed forward, placing a $50 bill on the stand. "For Lily," she said softly, giving Noah a warm smile. A man followed, dropping in 100, then another. Then came the kids, children his age, younger, older, digging into their pockets, placing coins and crumpled bills onto the growing pile. Noah couldn't hold back anymore. His small hands covered his face, and the tears finally came, not from sadness this time, from something much bigger. Dwayne pulled him into a side hug, patting his back. "It's okay, champ. Cry it out. You've been strong for too long." Noah sobbed into the rock's shoulder, overwhelmed by everything happening around him. The pain of the day, the exhaustion, the heartbreak of being ignored and mocked. It was all being washed away by the kindness of complete strangers. Dwayne stood up again, clapping his hands together. "All right, listen up. We're not stopping here. Noah, my man, you're officially in the lemonade business." The crowd cheered. Within minutes, the empty pitcher of lemonade was replaced with fresh ones, brought in by people who had heard what was happening. Someone donated new cups, another brought ice. Before long, Noah's lemonade stand wasn't just a stand anymore. It was a movement. Dwayne smiled down at Noah, watching as the boy wiped his tears, and stood up a little taller. "You did this," the rock said, pointing at him. "You never gave up. That's what makes you a fighter." Noah sniffled, nodding. His voice was shaky but sure when he whispered, "For Lily." Dwayne grinned. "That's right, for Lily." And with that, the little lemonade stand that had been ignored all day was now the most famous lemonade stand in the world. Noah barely had time to process what was happening. One moment, he was standing in front of his tiny lemonade stand, feeling invisible to the world. And the next, he was at the center of something much bigger than he could have ever imagined. The fundraiser Dwayne Johnson had posted was growing faster than anyone expected. People weren't just donating, they were sharing Noah's story. Within minutes, it had gone from a small social media post to a global movement. As Noah wiped his teary eyes, he heard a ding from the rock's phone, then another, and another. Dwayne glanced at the screen and let out a low whistle. "Kid," he said, crouching down beside him again, "you might want to see this." Noah looked at the screen, his breath catching in his throat. The number that had started at $25,000 just moments ago had skyrocketed. $50,000, $75,000, $100,000. The donations weren't just coming from strangers in town. They were pouring in from all over the world. Celebrities started commenting. Athletes, influencers, people who had never even met Noah or Lily were now rooting for them. A famous basketball player retweeted the link, adding, "This little guy is more of a fighter than any of us. Let's get his sister the help she needs." A Hollywood director donated $10,000 in one click, writing, "Sending love to Noah and Lily. The world needs more hearts like his." The rock smiled, shaking his head in disbelief. "You're breaking the internet, buddy." By now, the street outside the lemonade stand had transformed. What had started as a small group of onlookers had turned into a massive crowd. People held signs that read, "For Lily," and "Noah, you're a hero." Cars pulled over just to hand him donations. A local news station arrived first, shoving microphones toward Dwayne, but he motioned for them to lower them. "This isn't about me," he said firmly. "It's about him." The microphone turned to Noah. He blinked, unsure what to say. A reporter knelt down, softening her voice. "Noah, how does it feel to see all these people here for you and your sister?" Noah looked around, his small fingers gripping the hem of his shirt. "I just wanted to help Lily," he whispered. "She's really sick. I didn't think anyone would care." A woman in the crowd gasped softly. Another man shook his head, his eyes wet with emotion. Dwayne rested a hand on Noah's shoulder. "They care, champ. Look around." And then, the biggest moment of the night happened. A nurse from the children's hospital where Lily was being treated rushed through the crowd. Her face was flushed from excitement as she reached Noah and knelt in front of him. "Noah," she said, breathless, "your mom just called the hospital. She saw everything happening online." Noah's heart pounded. "Is Lily okay?" The nurse smiled, tears in her eyes. "Noah, your fundraiser just covered every single medical expense she has. Your sister is getting the best treatment in the world." A moment of pure silence. Then the crowd erupted. Cheers, claps, whistles. Strangers hugged each other. A woman sobbed into her hands. Noah stood still, struggling to breathe. She doesn't have to wait anymore?" The nurse shook her head. "She's going to get everything she needs, because of you." Dwayne knelt beside Noah again. His usual playful smirk was gone, replaced with something deeper, something proud. "See that?" he said, voice steady. "You didn't just help Lily, Noah. You made the world believe in something good again." Noah looked up at him, his vision blurry with tears. "I thought I was alone." Dwayne smiled, ruffling his hair. "Not anymore." And as the night stretched on, Noah stood at his lemonade stand, not just as a little boy trying to save his sister, but as a symbol of what kindness can do. Noah could barely believe what was happening. Just hours ago, he had been standing alone, ignored, struggling to sell a single cup of lemonade. Now, the whole world was watching. The fundraiser had passed $1 million, and every single cent was going toward Lily's treatment. He gripped the edge of his lemonade stand, his hands shaking. People were cheering, taking pictures, and celebrating. But all Noah could think about was Lily, his sister, the reason he had started all of this in the first place. A familiar voice broke through the noise. "Hey, champ!" Noah looked up and saw The Rock, still standing right beside him, smiling. But this time he wasn't just looking at Noah. He was holding out a phone. "It's your mom," Dwayne said softly. Noah's heart stopped. His fingers fumbled as he grabbed the phone. "Mom," his mother's voice came through the speaker, shaky with emotion. "Noah, sweetheart, you did it." Tears burned his eyes. "Mom, Lily?" "She's going to be okay, baby," his mother whispered. "Because of you. Because of what you did." Noah clutched the phone, his chest heaving. His little body had carried so much weight, so much responsibility, and now, finally, it was lifting. Dwayne placed a steady hand on Noah's shoulder. "Your sister's getting the best care possible, but we're not done yet." Noah blinked up at him, confused. What more could there be? Dwayne grinned. "Come on, champ. You and I have somewhere to be." Within an hour, Noah found himself in a car with The Rock, heading toward the hospital. News crews followed behind, but Noah barely noticed. His whole body buzzed with nerves. When they arrived, the doors to the children's ward burst open, and there she was, Lily. Her tiny frame was still covered in blankets, her face pale, but the second she saw Noah, her tired eyes lit up. "Noah," she whispered, reaching out her weak little arms. He ran to her, wrapping her in the gentlest hug he could manage. "Lily, we did it. You're going to get better. You don't have to wait anymore." Lily smiled, resting her head against his shoulder. "I knew you'd help me," she whispered. "You're my big brother." Behind them, their mother stood frozen, her hands covering her mouth as silent tears rolled down her face. She looked at Dwayne Johnson, then back at her son. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. Dwayne smiled. "You already did. You raised a kid who never gave up." The nurses and doctors gathered around, clapping as they watched the scene unfold. But The Rock wasn't finished. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. He handed it to Noah's mother. "This isn't just about medical bills," he said. "This is for your family, to make sure Noah and Lily never have to struggle again." She hesitated, then carefully opened the envelope. Her breath caught. Inside was a check for $250,000. Her legs nearly gave out. Dwayne, I can't." "Yes, you can," he interrupted gently. Noah fought for his family. Now it's time for the world to fight for him. A sob escaped her as she pulled her son into a hug. Noah clung to her, his small hands gripping her shirt. For the first time in a long time, he felt safe. As they held each other, Dwayne knelt beside Lily's bed, smiling. "You're pretty lucky, you know," he said playfully. "Not everyone gets a brother like Noah." Lily giggled softly. "I know." Dwayne took something from his pocket and placed it in her tiny hands. It was a miniature championship belt, just like the ones he had won in wrestling, but this one had something special on it. Lily the Brave. Lily's eyes widened. "Is this for me?" Dwayne nodded. "You're the real champ here, kid." The hospital room was filled with warmth, laughter, and hope. The world had come together to save one little girl, but more than that, it had proven something bigger. Kindness still existed, and it all started with a boy, a lemonade stand, and a love so strong it moved the world. A week had passed since Noah's lemonade stand became the story that touched millions. The fundraiser had soared past $2 million, securing not only Lily's treatment, but also giving their family a future they never thought possible. Their once small world, filled with hospital visits and overdue bills, had transformed overnight. But to Noah, the greatest moment wasn't the money. It wasn't even meeting the rock. It was sitting in the hospital room, watching Lily laugh again, her tiny hands gripping the championship belt Dwayne had given her. She was getting stronger, and for the first time, Noah truly believed she would be okay. Dwayne Johnson didn't disappear after the cameras left. A few days later, he visited their home, this time with no reporters, no crowds, just him. He sat with Noah's mom at the kitchen table, making sure she had everything she needed to build a better life for her kids. And then he turned to Noah. "All right, champ," he said with a grin. "How's the world's greatest lemonade salesman doing?" Noah giggled, his cheeks turning red. "I don't know if I'm the greatest." Dwayne raised an eyebrow. "Kid, you didn't just sell lemonade. You started a movement." Noah thought about that. It was true. The money raised wasn't just helping Lily. It was now funding other sick children's treatments, too. Hospitals had reached out. Families in similar struggles had been given hope, all because a little boy had refused to give up. Dwayne knelt beside him, resting a big hand on his shoulder. "You taught the world something important, Noah. That kindness is still out there, that people want to help, but sometimes they just need someone to remind them." Noah looked up, his heart full. "Do you think I can help more people?" Dwayne smiled. "I know you can." As he stood up to leave, he ruffled Noah's hair one last time. "And if you ever need me, you know where to find me." Noah watched as the black truck drove away, feeling something new inside him. It wasn't just relief, it was purpose. Because one thing was certain, his story wasn't over. It had only just begun. Noah's story is a reminder that kindness can change lives, and that even the smallest actions can create something incredible. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more inspiring stories. And don't stop here. Watch the videos appearing on your screen right now for more stories that will move you, surprise you, and remind you of the power of compassion. See you in the next one.